a camera, a mic, out on the street chasing wrong from right. Eyes like fire burning through the haze. Truth is a weapon, cuts through the maze. Some call her trouble, some call her brave. Digging up secrets they tried to save. A real deal around town, she's breaking it down. Spinning the wheel, exposing the sound. They despise her, they praise her, but she won't slow down. Real deal around town, the truth's her cry. Shadows, they curse her name. Afraid of the spotlight she brings to the game. But the grateful ones, they cheer in the dark for the spark she ignites in their weary hearts. Some call her danger, some call her hope. She's the thin line on the tightrope. The sound. They despise her, they praise her, but she won't slow down. Real deal around town. The truth's her crown, yeah. The sound. They despise her, they praise her, but she won't slow down. Real deal around town. The truth's her crown, yeah. The truth's her crown, yeah.
Well, hi, everybody. I am back. I'm back after, I think I took one day off this week. We've been getting videos going as much as I possibly can. There's a lot of information flowing in Townsend right now, and more things that they don't want us to know, and more things that I'm just going to tell you. But as you probably are aware by the title of this video, this is a video about Josh and I getting back together and telling you how it is, giving you the rundown. And things are serious if Josh Abrams comes to town, and that's exactly where we're at. Accountability for All is Josh Abrams' channel, and he wanted to bring Townsend back into the spotlight because he found out what I was up to, and I'm going to share some of that, which is a little expansion on what I've been reporting on up until Josh coming to town. So, we're still dealing with all the water stuff and the lawsuit, and that's what brought Josh here. So what I want to do is share a video that we put together. We had one of our sit-down conversations, a little interview thing, and I just want to share that with you. Some of you that are I got some new subscribers this week after Josh did his video, which was an expanded version on what was going on. So I've got some new subscribers, and just to let you know, if you watched his most recent drop, this interview was on that. And I'm just going to do my usual style, and that's to go through that video and add commentary as I see fit. If I want to add to what we talked about in that interview, I will. I don't have a script. Of course, I've watched it a couple times, as well as having been there for the live. So I will be doing that. But before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about what else Josh did. Was it yesterday? I'm losing track of my days. I think it was the day before. Oh, I think it was Wednesday. Losing track. But anyway, he did. He went around town. Yes, it was. It was Wednesday. Wow. He went around town, and we did our video, and then we split up. He did his thing. I did mine, and he went off and did a First Amendment audit of our town hall, and that was not uneventful. Does Josh go anywhere without an event? I doubt it. I think he went out, and I wanted to check, make sure I have comments going. Okay, so he introduced himself to some new folks in our town hall. Some of it went okay, some of it was a little stressful for those involved, and we're still doing follow-up on some of the things that happened, which if you watch Josh's video, you'll get more information on that. He can tell it better, or he can show you better. His First Amendment audit is on his channel in full living color. And I will be following up myself with that. I'm going to be trying to educate my town officials and the townspeople here on exactly what a First Amendment audit is, as well as what it is not, and how to better prepare for them. Josh is not the only First Amendment auditor out there. And he's not the first, and he won't be the last auditor that comes to Townsend or any other town in the United States. And Josh travels. So many of you across the country have met Josh. And Josh used to live here in Townsend. So that's how he first got involved with some of the things that I was up to. And he's been very helpful in helping me get the word out. But back to First Amendment audits. I have to, because I've been accused of being a First Amendment auditor. I have to give a disclaimer at the beginning of many of my meetings, beginning of my videos, that I am not a First Amendment auditor. I've never had an interest in being a First Amendment auditor. I'm not currently interested in being a First Amendment auditor, and I have no future intention of becoming a First Amendment auditor. Okay, what I do is I focus on transparency, and I provide news reporting to whoever wants to hear it. I mostly talk about what's happening in Townsend, and I help keep the town informed of what's going on and decipher the code. And also, I'm hoping that I'm also targeting town officials, although most of them deny that they're watching my videos. I don't believe most of them. Some of them might not be watching my videos, but I think it would be highly recommended that you do, because I can give you a little bit of the pulse of what's happening. And you can check my math. You can check my story. You can, give me feedback. I want feedback from town officials as well as the public on whether or not what I'm saying has any validity to it. And sometimes I do not know what the full story is. And I will let you know that too, and give you what you need to know to ask more questions, because that's what transparency is all about. Asking the questions and getting the answers, and getting the right answer, not just the answer you want or the answer that they would like you to have. What's the real answer? What's the truth? And that's what government transparency is all about. And there is that tie-in to the First Amendment. It's not just freedom of speech. It's being the ability to contact your government officials and complain, to seek a redress of grievances from the government. That is the fifth element. The fifth element of the First Amendment. And that's where I mostly fit in, as well as the freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of everything else. But the key component to transparency is that fifth element of the First Amendment. And that's where I live. I'm not going around doing audits. I know people do. And I know some people, a lot of people, like to watch them. They like to participate in them. Not my thing. But I know that Josh does a pretty good job. He's one of the top auditors out there, I think, traveling around the country. And a lot of people follow him and learn from him. And good for all of you. And I think that what First Amendment auditors do, although sometimes it can be very anxiety producing for the town's officials, wherever he goes, that go through a First Amendment audit, I think that some of this um, is very helpful to the public and to the town officials who go through an audit. It might not be a lot of fun, but there is, I mean, of course, for those watching YouTube, there's a little bit of entertainment value, but a lot of it is educational too, because auditors, if they're doing it right, aren't doing things to cause harm. They're really trying to show you and show the world what citizens' rights are. They're going to the limit sometimes, but they're not going to they're not going over it. Some auditors don't do it, make mistakes. It's important if you're an auditor to know the laws and the communities that you're doing things in. But I'm going off where I was going to go, giving a little intro to First Amendment auditing. I'm going to save that for a different video because I do want to go over that with particularly my local folks, so they understand what it is and what it isn't, and how it sucks sometimes to go through one, but it's not that bad at the end of the day. So anyway, I want to get back to where we were going with this. I want to share the video that in the interview that Josh and I did the other day. So, and then I will see, get rid of that. You don't need my intro anymore. Let's see if I can find it. Share screen. I'll find it. I know I will. Is that it? That's it. There's Josh. Let me. That's yeah. I've captured this from it. My cat's going crazy. Wow. I captured this from his video. I don't have the interview separate, so I'm stealing his stuff with his permission. Let's see. Where am I? I want to bring up just the video. Do I want to do that? Okay. All right. If you're ready, if I can find the play button. Oh, okay. I have to go to where the video resides. Let's see. There it is. Real deal. Are you telling me there's no audio, John? There's still no audio? You can hear me, right? Are you telling me there's no audio, John? There's still no audio? Can somebody say something in the chat? Do I not have audio when I'm playing the video? I have to figure out this technical difficulty. Hello? No, you can hear me, but there's no audio on the video, right? Do you have audio? All right, fight for your rights. Is there audio? You can hear me, but when I played the video of me and Josh, did you have any audio then? I'm going to start it again so you can. You're giving me a thumbs up that, John, does that mean that there's no audio in the video? I know it's hard for me to understand the chat, so I'm going to fix it if I can. Okay, no audio on the video. Great. Let's see, I'm going to remove it. I'm going to try again. Oh, I know what I did. Okay.
The real deal around town. When I say we, I mean mostly her with a little bit of help from me. So when we talked recently, and she said there's something going on, it's way worse than before, of course I thought it was unbelievable and my interest was piqued, but knowing Cindy, she doesn't over-dramatize things or sensationalize things. If anything, she kind of underplays. So when she tells me that we have a bigger problem here in Townsend than we had before, I knew I had to sit down and talk to her. And there's a couple things that have been going on. There's a big lawsuit. I mean, tell us about it.
Well, I'm going to, from the beginning, basically, we have this brand new water treatment facility in Townsend Harbor, which is part of Townsend. And several years ago, they had discovered that we had a high PFAS level. I'm sure most people have heard about PFAS. And we were required to clean our water because we had to shut down part of the water in town because of it. So our water department put together a plan and got a lot of grants and loans and was able to build or to fund our water treatment facility. And I have to say, I have to commend the people that got that started. Our water superintendent was really on top of it. And we got ahead of the game on getting the funding required to get this before a lot of other cities and towns got all the money from both the federal and the state government. So it was really good news, and we're really thrilled to have it. And it's open now, and it's providing good water for that section of town. But what happened in the process of that is there were some questionable, I'll call it questionable, activities in order to get the thing built. Some of the contracting is now.
What do you mean questionable?
Well, there's an ethics commission. The ethics commission for Massachusetts is alleging that our water superintendent violated the bidding process, and by providing information to one of the bidders and not the others, that made it possible for them to get the contract to build a section, not the whole thing, but a section of the contract. There are all kinds of subcontracts
and what she's talking about, guys, is this is a big deal, and it's a big bid to go out. And I think we're talking about the amounts of just over 4.1 million, where the water superintendent was providing plot plans and basically everything that a contractor would need to make a bid. He was providing it well before the project was put out publicly. And not only was he providing it to one of his friends, the Shepherds, but he also provided it to, allegedly through the ethics committee, to the fire chief.
That's the same person.
That's the same person.
The fire chief owns the company, Shepco. He's
So-
the contractor. He's the contractor that won the bid to provide the portion of the water treatment facility, and he did the work.
Cindy, I
Say hi.
so she did it again. Every time I meet her, she says, "Here, look at this." And then once I lift off the lid, whoa. And I didn't know this, so you're seeing genuine surprise because I wanted to do very little research so I could get most of my education from Cindy because hers is more thorough than any Wikipedia or Ethics Commission report. So you're telling me that one town official, being the water superintendent, gets all this money into, before it goes out to bid, when all these other companies would have the opportunity to place a bid, he gives it to his friend to look at to get him ahead of the game, gives that friend a $4.1 million contract, and that friend turns out to be the current fire chief.
Correct. Whether the friends or not, I don't know, but he provided the information.
I consider him a friend.
I don't know that they're friends anymore, but
You did it to me again.
sorry.
Every time I meet you,
This
you
is
hit me
fun.
with
I like this. You know, as a smaller YouTube channel person, you know, to get Josh Abrams off kilter, I love it. This is fun.
Okay, take two. So I knew all along that it was the fire
no,
chief. No, I didn't. You totally got me. She totally got me. So
It's too much fun.
now, when we're talking about the ethics, okay? Now Chaz knows a little bit about ethics because his campaign practices actually were reviewed in front of the ethics committee. But there's certain things that you're allowed to do and you're not allowed to do, and I think that those rules and guardrails exist to try and keep it fair, right?
Yeah, there's a Mass General Law.
Well, in a
Chapter
perfect
30B.
world.
It's, yes, I mean, it's the law. There are a number of laws, and contracting laws are pretty specific. I'm no expert on it. I don't know if I'd want to bid on something because the laws are so strict. But you have to know what you're doing, and you can't violate these rules. And it can be very costly to everybody, not just David John, who's our water commissioner, who's going through the ethics commission stuff, but the community at large loses because the other bidders may have been better. They may have actually, if they had the same information.
Cheaper, higher
they
quality
could've-
product.
Exactly.
That
all
money
those
could go
things.
back into the town because if you didn't know, folks, as far as Townsend is concerned, there is not a surplus. When I was running for
No.
office, we were looking at yet another override. You have to be very inventive in an area like this to get your hands on the right finances, the right grants, and the right funding. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're talking about a $4 million job, when we talk about that kind of money, if even somebody else came in at 3.5, 3.6, now we're talking about, you know, potentially saving ourselves $400,000 to $500,000. You start reinvesting that money into a community of 8,000 people. That's a lot of money. And do you think there was some and we're like pontificating here a little bit, but do you think there was some backroom deal? Like, how do we get to, hey, here's all the plans, here's what you need to know to try and to score this score?
You know, I don't know if it was deliberate to, hey, I'm gonna give this to Shepherd, and we gotta figure out a way to give it to Shepherd. I do not know if those kind of conversations happen between them or around other town officials as well. I'm still following up on my concerns that other town officials may have been involved with funneling the contract
To that
Gary
perspective. Now, he has a lot of pull. That name is not lost.
Yeah, I'm going to comment a little bit on this part where what I said that I'm still investigating, if I can bring myself back up here on the side. Yeah, I mean, I'm still looking at, as well as the RFS who is filing the lawsuit against Townsend. I believe that they're also looking at not simply whether Gary and David Bijan's our water superintendent, Gary Shepherd's the fire chief and the owner of Shepco, as Josh just learned. It may not simply be those two. I may be making this a much bigger mushroom cloud than it needs to be. But the question is up there, and I believe based on the public records requests that RFS have made with the town of Townsend, I believe that they are looking beyond those two. They did public records request regarding the Board of Selectmen at the time and the members of the Board of Selectmen. They asked for disclosure forms, and some of those are revealing of some of the relationships between different people and Gary Shepherd, people who are involved in the contracting process. And I think it should be noted that all contracts in the town are signed by the Board of Selectmen. So that is another leg of this that hasn't really been discussed or reported thoroughly. It is based on the things that RFS is aware of. I think that there's a lot more coming out of this. And I've been warning repeatedly town officials that you're all going to be deposed. And I don't think they believe me. I don't think a lot of people understand why I would say such a thing. And I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, I'm glad at this juncture of what's happening, I'm glad I have the experience. It wasn't fun at the time, but I have the experience of having gone through depositions on other cases that I've been at least on the outskirts of. Well, sometimes not so much, but I've had to be deposed a few times. And so I know how these things go. And when you have a suit of this nature, if it goes to trial, if the town does not settle, the process between now and trial will be a lot of depositions. And the things that were requested as public records requests and that they received, because they're posted on our website, I have copies of everything, that some of the stuff that they are in possession of weren't listed in the lawsuit. They're not part of the core part of what you claim in the lawsuit, but it's all part of the proof. When they go to the depositions and when they go to actual testimony in a trial, then all these relationships are going to be ripped apart. And a lot of questions, I have them. I'm sure RFS has them. And they're looking from, the outside view, which is sometimes a clearer view. They can see things jumping out at them like, this is not normal. What is with this town? And so their trial attorneys will be, taking all that information that they're already have and will be collecting over the next year or so to present to a judge or jury. That everybody's asked for a jury trial, which is normal, no matter how things end up. But it will. I have concerns, and I am concerned about who else may have been involved with funneling this contract into the hands of Gary Shepherd. Now, I may be just being a pessimist. I may just be expanding this because of just the optics. Optics don't always tell the whole story. And I know that from not more experience I've had, and I think most of us have had some experiences where optics are not necessarily what's happening underneath. And we may never know how this all went down. And I do think that this will be, I mean, this needs, in my mind, they need to settle. They may not. But anyway, I am concerned about there's more involvement. There's more town officials involved with this than what we're seeing. And I think that's part of why some of the town officials are fighting so hard that this is frivolous, this needs to go away, and Cindy doesn't know what she's talking about. Okay, we shall see. But Josh Abrams came back to town, so there's something here, right? Okay, I'm going to get back to this video, I think.
On me. When I lived here, there were a couple names in town. There were really only 2 or 3 that were the big ones that people would fear. He just owns a lot of everything. But in a town like this, it's very picturesque, but it very much reminds me of those quaint Midwest towns with one street. In my professional opinion, from what I've seen here, there is a lot of pay to play in one way or another. And I'm not necessarily saying that one person gives another person a check and says, go cash this and then vote the way I want you to vote. But we have these type of backroom deals, and my question is, if it's that easy there should be separation of powers and balances. Like, we should be talking about, if this guy, for example, Donald Trump is the president, whether you like him or you hate him or you're in between or what have you, he can't be the president, collect a paycheck, and be retaining a paycheck from anywhere else. There are certain checks and balances that are they're made to defend against these things from happening. But if we're looking at one guy who's the fire chief getting a $4 million contract from another town official, I wonder what else we're not seeing.
Possibly. The community, a lot of people in the community are very concerned about not this, but a number of things. But this is the biggest scandal for a while.
Since me.
That's right, since you.
Since us.
Yeah, since us.
We're together.
Yes, it is. And so I mean, every day, I think that maybe, sometimes I think Townsend will be quiet for a while. Nope. They try to outdo themselves. And this really does. And I think, David Prejean, who's the water superintendent, is facing the Ethics Commission now. And he's having a hearing next month. It keeps getting pushed down because apparently he hasn't hired an attorney. He's so adamant that he didn't break any laws that he's going through it without the benefit of an attorney, which is not the greatest idea. And the story also includes that Gary Shepherd also had faced the Ethics Commission. But from what I've been told, I got it secondhand, he didn't tell me personally, but apparently at a department head meeting, he announced that he had settled with the Ethics Commission. So Gary Shepherd had claims that he had paid a fine because of the ethics violation, that he said, okay, I'll just pay a fine.
A question,
and then it becomes private, it's not public anymore, you can't get information on it beyond that.
a question I have is, if we're talking about the chief of the fire department, now, police do a job, they do a hard job. I don't hate all police officers. I hate the bad cops that I find that do the wrong thing. I hate bad people that do anything. And I will say that I've met a lot of good cops here in Townsend, but I think that firefighters have a more dangerous job. I mean, we're talking about running into fire, we're talking about managing natural disaster, we're talking about EMT, medical response. You know that from your past. And my question, as a former resident here, someone who ran for office, someone whose children were in school here, what are we looking at when we say we have a fire chief, the person responsible for the safety of this town, who's having ethics violations and settling them? Are we looking at a glaring problem here?
Well, settling them.
Because there's certainly an admission of guilt, and I know that the whole thing
Well,
is
I think it's like if you go to criminal court and you're charged for something, you often have depends on the charges, but you often have the opportunity to do continuing without a finding. You're not making an admission. You're just saying you have enough evidence to convict. I'm only admitting that you probably have enough evidence to convict. You're probably, even if you're in your mind, you're saying you're going to railroad me anyway, no matter what I do. And you, just to get it over with, you take a quaff, and you can get probation.
Yeah, usually so for the period of that time, if you don't get in trouble once that period's over, it disappears.
And I think this is similar to that. It's not a criminal thing. So, but I think, paying a fine, which I'm assuming he has, I'm sure he just didn't say, okay, fine. He had to pay some money, I assume. But then it becomes, okay, brought attention to this, and David Vajon has the same opportunity. And they've given him the same opportunity, and that has been published on the state website.
So
But he's fighting it for some
now,
reason.
does he pay the fine personally?
Yes.
They pay the, well, at least that's good news. We don't have to pay for that. But I guess, like, overwhelmingly, how do we feel about our fire chief violating ethics? Like, does that make us think that, okay, well, if he was willing to do that for money, like, what if my house is on fire and I'm poor, and my real rich buddy that gave me a sweet contract, his house is on fire? There's one fire truck whose house is getting put out. Like, does that start, are people in the community feeling that?
Yes, they are. And there are people who are asking for both David's and Gary's termination from their town positions.
All right, now, who do we have as town manager? When I was here last, we had a new one.
Oh, we got another new one.
Another new one.
Because the last time you,
He was an Asian gentleman.
Oh, yes, that's him.
another town. That's
yes,
the same
okay,
one?
yes, Nelson.
Nelson,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he came on, I mean, he's brand new, and he's not been a town administrator before. This is his first gig. And he's only been there for about just over a year. He came okay. He came right around the time that we were.
And this might be confusing to you folks, but the reason is because the Townsend can't keep a town manager. In fact, I lived in town for less than a year and I met 2 of them. Okay?
That's all?
That's all.
We had like 3, I think.
I think when I first moved in, 1 had left. But this is what I'm talking about, okay? And if you people are just watching this video now, we're not going down the entire rabbit hole. But the reason, and I suggest you go to The Real Deal Around Townsend. The links are provided in the description of this video and also the pinned comment. But the last time we were here, we had a current select person who was working at a separate day job, Catholic Charities, and he was working in a capacity of trying to get people clean. And there were substantiated allegations to the fact where Massachusetts actually called him a credible danger to the community, where he was forcing people to give him sexual favors in return simply for him not lying to their parole officer and getting them thrown in jail. He wound up, he's gone from the picture. His friend Joe Shank also left. I mean, we took out an entire select board, but that wasn't like isolated incident. It's like the town manager's revolving door, the select board of this power and control. And we can be talking about a different story next year, but it'll still be about the same thing. Someone who's wanting to keep power and control. And we're over an hour and a half away from Boston. And I would argue that some of the power mongering that's going on here is at least worse than there, because people are doing this stuff out in the open. I mean, we're talking about the Water Commission. Several years ago, there were issues with water tests that I covered in one of my previous videos. I mean, you were right when you said the storm doesn't pass before you see more clouds. There's always something going on here.
And this is a new crew over at the water department.
Right.
These aren't the same people that, when you're talking about the water test, that was the old.
Which I did
the old
records
regime.
requests for.
This guy, this is new, and
You know what they told me? I did records requests for the water reports. They had been fudging the water and putting chemicals and all sorts of stuff in there. So I went to the town hall and I asked for the records. Because of an anonymous source, who was not Cindy, for all who are wondering, an anonymous and protected source gave me a copy of these records. So I went into the town hall and I asked for them, knowing that they would tell me there were no records responsive to my request. They did. So I went back in and I said, I got this email from you. You said there were no records responsive to my request. And she said, yes, we couldn't find any. I said, well, you can keep these for yourself. There's a lot more going around. I have a zip drive with hundreds of copies. And I wonder when it's going to stop. Like, the poor people that live here live in a constant vacuum. Like, it is, I woke up today what's the next huge scandal that's going to cost us hundreds of thousands of
Well, I
dollars.
think this one's still got a lot more to go on blowing up.
Yeah, you've only, and
Yeah.
no one else has exposed this, by the way. I don't watch YouTube channels. I do watch her when she comes on. And it's like, it's hard for me, unless I have a couple hours, to sit down, not because it's like drawn out, but because I have children, and the next thing I know, my kids will be unsupervised while I'm sitting, watching the phone, taking notes, being like, oh, we're gonna get them this time.
I think the biggest thing, what's coming is the extension of this, or the explosion from this is going to be the lawsuit. That
And
is,
who sues who in the lawsuit?
the losing bidder, or one of the losing bidders, I'm not sure how many there were, I thought there was only one, but somebody told me there's more than that, but there's one of the losing bidders, they're called RFS Corporation, and they do the type of work for a living. They weren't just any old contractor. They were experts in the field on this type of project, and they have sued the town for $1 million for damage or for whatever that
Rightfully
because of
so.
the bidding. And in their lawsuit, they stated that they found out about the bidding problems when the Ethics Commission started investigating. They contacted them about what the bidding process was. And that's really what started this whole.
My mind is going to explode. So rightfully so, they should sue if they didn't get an unbiased opportunity. But here's where my issue is. The water department gives $4.1 million to the fire chief, right? Because the fire chief is the guy that was doing the backroom dealing. In my estimation, that's how I'm saying it, and I'm speaking for myself, okay? And now we can turn that $4.1 million project into a $5.1 million project because this guy screwed up. Now the taxpayers have to pay the bill. And Townsend always does that. They always have to pay the bill. I mean, Jesus Christ, we had to pay some guy to leave. One of the town managers, we had to pay him to leave. I mean, what do we do? My hope is that there exists, and one day will exist, a town official, because I don't know enough of the new ones, and maybe I will today, but there will be a town official that will stand up and do the right thing. I've heard of one, and I know no others, but we need, as a people in a community, to start asking questions, because the inmates do, for all intents and purposes, run the asylum.
There you go.
But people just need to be willing, like, we can't have one Cindy King. And I'm just, nothing to do with my spiel, there should be more of her, she's very entertaining.
I'm surprised that there aren't. I figured I'd
Why?
have competition right
But, and why are the big news outlets? Now, like, they didn't come to investigate Chaz until you and I blew the story up. And then they finally came to investigate it, and they did it with the guys that they wanted to talk to us and make it like this whole big thing. And they really just kind of, did a passé piece. But why don't people in town, is it because they're so used to it?
I think there's so much that they've become accustomed to, but the press has also pulled out. I mean, as you know, YouTube has become almost the newest news media everywhere across the country, if not beyond that, because news media has shrunk. And we used to have a reporter that would, at least one reporter would come and attend meetings and do news stories, even some just public interest stories.
We did have one, they left.
They don't come. They just, the Lowell Sun is the closest news media, and they own all the press around us. They don't even care what happens in Townsend. Occasionally there might be something that's happening at the library or something that they'll put in the newspaper, but they don't want to know. They don't want to get involved with anything controversial anymore. And it's like, okay, so I'll tell, if nobody will tell the story, I will.
I don't like controversy at all. I just...
Really?
I crave it. It's like donuts. Give me more. But I joke. But for someone like Cindy, who has dedicated their life to service, EMT, like her profession was to save lives. She gets paid. like for none of this. Like, just so you guys know, her channel is not monetized. She doesn't get super chats, donations. So when you see her attending all these meetings, when you see her streaming for 3 hours about whatever topic is going to affect you people of Townsend, whether it's about the trash system or it's about this huge cover-up, and she's doing all this at her own personal expense with no income, you have to look at this person and say, okay, they care. But you can't expect for someone to care for you when you won't care for yourself. Now, Cindy is the unicorn in that aspect, because even if you don't care for yourself, she would still care about you, and I tell her that she's crazy for that. I think you folks in Townsend should show up to the town meetings. I think you should ask the questions. I think you should go to the fire department and ask to sit down with the fire chief. I think that you should be going to the water department to sit down and ask to talk to the water superintendent. And you can simply bring all the information that she's giving you. This is real guerrilla journalism. And the fact that you people aren't standing up, picketing, it's really sad. And I think it's sad also because, like we discussed, you're so used to it. Like, you are literally channeled to wake up and say, oh, this is what just happened at the water department. Doesn't surprise me. That's probably the conversation when people are having.
Actually, it's even worse than that. The big comments I get, both from town officials and citizens, are this kind of thing is in the best interest of Townsend.
See, that drives me.
Townsend makes out when we have all these backroom deals.
How so? I mean, like, with these people, like, if you're one of these people at home and you're saying, oh, Townsend makes out, what about your overrides? Okay, you are hemorrhaging money, you're still paying off money for over 20 years, you're still paying off a debt. And I think you got about $150,000 to go, don't they?
We got more than that. I mean, that's we've got a lot of the loans that our town has. We're paying the interest only. We're not even kicking in on some of the principal, on some of the debt that the town has.
Yeah, it's kind of like when, police, like, and you see a bad cop.
And we just bought 2 fire trucks last year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I saw pictures of them. I keep in touch with my home away from. When you see police beating somebody, okay, and I as a person, even if one of those pro super police supporters, if I see a cop punching someone in the face, I know that that's unacceptable. So I'm going to say that's unacceptable and that is a shepherd, right? Now there are sheep who will say, oh, they're just doing their job. And then we talk about the wolf, the sheep, and the shepherd, right? And you remind me of the shepherd, the wolf, the water superintendents, the fire chiefs, and then you have the sheep, the flock, who, well, it's in the best interest of Townsend. I don't care if they robbed us blind. We can get another tax increase. I already gave a month's worth of rent to Unitil to pay for my gas, right? And then you have the shepherd, the person that keeps the wolves at bay, the person that tends to gather their flock and bring them to safety. You guys need to be willing to be led by somebody. Someday, I don't care what it takes, I am going to annoy you into running for select board.
I doubt it.
I can be very annoying.
I think I can, right now, and even for the future, I think that the work that I'm doing with my YouTube channel far surpasses what I could do if I held that office. Because when you're on the Board of Selectmen, you can't talk about a lot of things because there's personnel issues, there's things that you're required by law to keep your mouth shut about.
Yeah.
And if I would have to stop.
You'd never
talking.
be able to know a secret and be able to be quiet and sit on it, could you?
Well, no.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, if I were to do something like that, I would comply. But with my YouTube channel is not just telling the news. I'm also giving my opinion and trying to give backstory and trying to kind of predict what else could happen with this.
She hasn't been wrong yet, by the way.
I can't And I'm willing to be wrong. Like if I say the wrong thing, I ask people, let me know.
You do say
and I'll
challenge
correct
me.
myself.
You do.
I'll correct it. And I have. There's been small things. I've said, I was wrong about this. Guess what? Like I keep saying that I thought David said it like 3 times. And I was wrong each time. It's still going on. But as a YouTuber, I'm able to speak the truth, or speak truth to power, as they say, and tell the story and give my opinion. And I get feedback from residents. People call me, they stop me on the street. I get real nervous when they do that because some people I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
but then I say, oh, okay. They say, oh, thank you for your channel. I'm like, oh, okay. So I learned that I'm doing a good deed.
You're halfway there.
And I'm putting, and I think that really does more from my perspective for the town than if I were to put that same effort on the board.
Well, that's because you've done as much as you can do, and you will continue to do that. And what I mean by that, folks, is she's done everything she can. She's sprinted, right? She's handed the baton, and she's been waiting for someone to grab it for close to a decade now. She's like, just because the real deal around town hasn't been going on that long, she has been involved in politics as far as the investigation of the politics and finding out what's going on, because it started for her as like a self-betterment. And then once you're a person like her who's given your life to service and helping people, you can't look at something that's harmful to other people and not like stand on the mountaintops and be like, hold on a minute. And I thank you because regardless of the fact that these people are still able to do things like this, because there'll be another scandal and I'll be back here with you a year from now. But you give so much of yourself, and I think if people gave themselves to you a fraction of what you give to them, I think we would be talking about problems that have been thwarted, not crimes that have been committed. And I urge the community to subscribe. And guys, if you're not from Townsend or you're not from Massachusetts, there is zero reason that you cannot subscribe to her channel, because if you want to see a masterclass in how to completely eviscerate and take down local corrupt government, go no further. If you need to understand public meeting laws, records requests, go no further. It really is an all-inclusive, no spin, straight talk about how you can live your life as an American with as little infringement as possible. And infringement seems to be a boot on the neck everywhere you turn. So check her out, and please stay tuned, because anything that you hear about Townsend on the news, you'll find out from her 7 months ahead of time.
Could be.
It's how it's always been. History is a way of repeating itself.
You're talking about people subscribing from other places. I mean, I do have some subscribers from actually around the world, but around the country primarily. But things that are happening here in Townsend are happening other places.
Yeah.
And we have, our laws are slightly different. We call them different things, different numbers, different steps in order to fix things. But the same laws apply in other states. You have your own set of laws and circumstances and different things. You call things different things, but these things still happen across in Iowa, Idaho, Texas, Florida, California. It's all, people everywhere are dealing with one level of corruption or another, and things that go wrong, and transparency. My big thing is transparency.
Yeah.
And when things start going wrong, they start closing ranks, and it makes it harder to get stuff. And that's when my red flags are going off. That I go deeper. Wait a minute. Why is it getting harder? Why don't they want to release public records? Because they don't want you to know. And I know this is going on everywhere. And I'm trying to expand a little bit to tell more stories than just, because sometimes it can be boring. Townsend can be boring sometimes unless something like this happens. But there's more, there's...
Some shit's about to go down when Josh Abrams strolls into town.
Well, this is true. There's not an innocent thing going on here. There's more stuff, and there's more to come. I know there's more to come on this, and there's more to come. There's more stuff that's going to be happening in town. I know it, and around the region. We've got there's a lot of things.
Your professional play-by-play, what do we got? Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon quarterback this for the folks at home. How do you think this shakes out?
This, I think it's blowing up. I think, well, it depends. It really depends, and I'm trying to encourage, I'm hoping my town officials watch my videos.
They do.
I want them, some of them have told me they don't, some
They're
of them I
lying.
think they're lying.
They are. They're lying straight to
But I know some of them are because they'll mention something I said in my video during the meetings. I'm like, oh, thank you. And I think I am informing town officials in some areas, and I keep begging them to please settle the lawsuit, because I don't believe that anybody did anything wrong, and they're part of the problem of saying this is in the best interest of the town. What these guys did is in the best interest of the town, and I refer to them, thinking of them as they want to send them to sainthood. Like, no, they're far from it. But if they don't settle the lawsuit, I'm afraid of what's going to come of it. It will be a much more expensive endeavor for the town and affect the taxpayers than just paying off $1 million.
How about if we said, whatever profit the fire chief, Shepherd, took from this deal, he pays the lawsuit off, and anything that surpasses that, he gives it up on his fireman's salary. But I bet you're not gonna do that. She won't say this, and she hasn't said this.
And it's oversight. A lot
Yeah.
of it's oversight. And my belief is that if they don't settle, that's where the problem is going to show up. I think that it could pull in other people. It could pull in more town officials. The oversight may sink more people, and
It's just gonna be so many
go up.
tentacles are gonna keep it.
That I'm curious, like, and everybody that has been on the Board of Selectmen from when this whole thing started a few years ago will be deposed.
Yeah,
Everybody who's been on the Board of Water Commissioners is going to be deposed. So we've got like 10 or 12 people that are going to be deposed, and they can't lie. If they lie, that's a criminal complaint. So it could go, but if they've been involved with this contracting, like, we gotta make sure Gary gets the job. If that happened, if anybody testifies to that, that is, the depositions are private, but that will come out in court later as part of the lawsuit, and it could make the lawsuit much bigger, that more things can happen.
that's why I think we need to
You know,
stem
it's like,
this,
you, as a taxpayer,
cauterize it.
I want my town's officials, the leadership of this town, to settle this lawsuit. And, if a lot of times you think that, I'm gonna fight to the finish, and you get caught up in that. I've been there, that you're gonna fight it and fight it and fight it until you lose badly. And I think we're gonna lose badly, that it's cheaper, and you wanna keep things quiet, settle. And settlement would also be covered by insurance. It wouldn't be on the taxpayer. I think they're spending a few dollars now on our legal counsel, which, okay,
I can't wait to see that bill.
they just changed the billing on that. We're now it went up, starting this month. So that's just like, how bad
Lawyers
did
charge
you
more
get?
money.
But we were getting off easy because we were using the legal services too much for free. So I think that more officials could be holding the bag on some of the backroom conversations that may have occurred. It's my opinion, I'm not accusing anyone of criminal activity, but I have questions. When Cindy has questions and concerns, something is there.
And then I show up.
And then Josh shows up,
So,
and Josh will be back very shortly if this blows up.
Nobody calls it. There's no one who's like, this is what I'm thinking, and I'm like, I'll be there next week. I do that for her because, and number one, she's always right. And number two, this fire chief, Shepherd, now, she won't say anything mean about anyone because she's a very nice person, but you barely missed being a focus of my last videos. Okay, I know all about who you are. I know all about what you've done. I know all about your criminal history. I still have all the paperwork sitting in a zip drive. I think what you should do is make it right. maybe even take the money that you made from this big job that you got in my understanding, totally unlawfully, and use that to give back to the community. Because I would like nothing more for you to be my next Chaz. What does that mean? Thumbnail of every one of my videos for the next month. I do a deep dive on everything that's ever existed about you. We can get rid of the last part. I've already had that information for 2 years. You didn't know any of that stuff, huh?
No.
She didn't know the good stuff. And I'm going to save you the trouble from, unless you'd like to know. But he was a naughty boy. He was a naughty boy, you were. How do you get to be a fire chief's job when you have a like that on your record? I don't know.
What?
Yeah? Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't. See, I surprised him earlier, he's surprising me.
I have a friend in town that was helpful in getting me a lot of information, and he is part of the reason that Mr. Shepard has been able to avoid my photographic wrath so far. His praise had been sung, and this, that, and the other, and I started going through the paperwork, and I'm still friends with that original person, but I got my hands on cold, hard, fact, truth. So we'll talk about it today when I come by the firehouse to ask some questions. And that's why I think it's great when people can work together. Of course, there's sensationalism with what I do. And I got a big channel, and I got overhead and all this other stuff. But the one thing that pisses me off more than anything, like I could care less about making a dime, is when I see someone like Cindy, or specifically Cindy, fighting this battle, and it's like yelling into the void. I need the residents, not some bits and pieces, to stand up. When I lived here, I could go to every single business, and even if people didn't like me, they're like, hey Josh, can I get a picture? Like, how about you put the cameras down, pick your pens up, get some paper, and start listening to what she's saying, going to town meetings, recording notes for yourself. It's much easier to ignore the problem, but is that snowball at 100 times the size, is that what you want to leave for your kids? I know it's not what I want to leave for my kids. I left Townsend. And she's still here fighting this fight. Everyone, if you could please subscribe to The Real Deal Around Town. She's fantastic. If I could take a moment to praise your work, what I do in comparison, I always say I'm a journalist, and I am, in comparison to your endeavors, what you've uncovered, the pieces that you've done. Like, I am high school editorial, you are Pulitzer. Your stories are wonderful, your follow through is fantastic, and as a journalist, I have great respect and admiration for you. But as a former resident of this town, I have even more admiration for you, because you are fearless, you are resilient, you are tenacious, and you do not stop until the wrong in some fashion has been written. You're worried about the ethics committee. This is who you should be worried about. Any last words you'd like to say to the people before we go?
Just thank you for that. Thank you. Well, subscribe to my channel. That would be nice. But yes, I just encourage. I do encourage the residents of Townsend to, not just sit on the sidelines. Get involved and speak out about what's going on. Because the more people that do, the more power you take away from the powerful. And you, as citizens, you can have the power. I know a lot of people on, say, social media and Facebook, the anonymous, a lot of people can post anonymous statements now. And there's a lot of that. People are afraid to put their real name on when they want to give their opinion. They just want to give their opinion, supporting me or going against some of the town officials that we're talking about. And they're afraid to use their own name because of retaliation. And people don't participate in some of the activities around, even on the outskirts of politics. They're afraid. They don't want to be hooked up with any of it, or
Yeah.
accused of things, or have retaliation by those who are in power. And I mean, I got nothing else to lose. I've got
And there are people,
and
retaliation
I
is
just
rampant.
like,
I
let's
get-
go, and I do have some fears of retaliation. I have quite a few security cameras at my house, and I usually am prepared to start recording at any moment because of some things that have been said to me in the past. And, I am, not quite hyper vigilant, but on guard to
Listen, I've interviewed privately, and I'll leave it at this, a jewelry store person and a technical salesman, we'll just leave it at that. I've had long conversations with both of these people who have literally been retaliated against by select board town officials to the point where they're barely hanging on. I mean, and they go after your businesses. It's really a high school mentality. We don't like this person, so let's get our popularity to ostracize the rest of the group.
Yeah. So the more of us that are speaking out, the better. So, and I am working to expose this stuff. I want more transparency in our government. I want more opportunity for people to get the public records that need to be exposed and to know what's going on. And I'll keep doing it as long as I possibly can.
Tip of the iceberg. We'll be doing a follow-up story. You won't have to wait a year for it. Or you can just go to her channel and make my life easier and make sure you get some views over there. Ex-police officer arrested after impersonating a police officer, all because a girl was a bit too young. Maybe he'd have something to talk about with Fire Chief Shepard. She's been the real deal around town. I've been AFA. Until next time, that's where we stop you today.
Okay, everybody, how was that? That was a very interesting interview. It was went really well. I'm really pleased with how that turned out. You sit down with Josh and we do an interview. We don't have a script. We're just going on whatever he's going to ask me, and that was really good. We got a lot of things out into the open in a very short period of time, so that was fun. So everybody, that was what I came here for, is to share. I have a cat that's going crazy over here. It's past the cat's bedtime and he's telling me I need to go to bed. I agree, but I've got people. I'm talking to people here. So anyways, sorry for the interruptions. He's just tearing the room apart. All right. So, oh my goodness. Oh, I'm not going to have a room left. So, yeah. So that was good. We got a lot going on in Townsend, as you can see, and hopefully we can. I'm never going to run out of stories to tell. There's always something going on, and somewhere in that video, I was just going to stop it, and I decided to let it run. But we're talking about public records, and that he had asked for some public records that he was denied, and then he got them somewhere else and turned them over to the town so they'd have them. Trust me, the town always had them. And that's pretty much still going on. And it's getting worse. And I keep talking about transparency, and the Board of Selectmen especially just keep insisting that they're transparent. And it's not fair of me to accuse them of anything else. And the public records business is getting tighter and tighter. I've never had so many appeals I've had to file. I've got one serious one going now. I've got one I may not do. I'm still in the appeal period, if that makes any sense. Because I've done like 4 appeals on one public records request. And now I'm getting ready to do a second appeal on one. So I've never had this problem before. And it is not a records access officer's fault. It's his problem. He's dealing with all this continuation. But it's the departments who hold the records that I'm seeking. I'm not the only one going through this. sometimes it feels like I'm the only one, but I know that there are others, and it's the departments that have the records. The RAO, he's the one you go through to get it, who's the town clerk. He trying to get the records, but the departments holding them don't want to give them to me. So it's a shit show. And I've got appeal, the Commonwealth, the Secretary of the Commonwealth, just keeps telling the town, you got to provide the records. They keep asking me for money. Sometimes one of them was over $2,000. And I was like, you're crazy. And and the state tells them the same thing. So it's a constant fight to get these records. And I'm going to be, I've got to have to do a video on, I got to get everything together in my head and to show you some of the things that I'm dealing with and why, to show you like what they're saying, what they're doing, because it's a nightmare. And I've been doing open meeting law complaints for a lot of them in the last year. I did one a couple years before, but I really had to pick up the pace this year because they're just violating the open meeting law. They don't properly list things on their agenda. If you follow some of my videos recently, one of the water commissioners, their water commissioners meeting the other day, they started talking about the lawsuit. It was not on the agenda. There's another open meeting law complaint, and it's my understanding that they're insisting that they didn't do anything wrong. So of course they are. That's just how Townsend operates. Oh no, this is Townsend. This is how we do things. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So the Attorney General's office and the Secretaries of the Commonwealth are getting used to my name. I'm sorry about that, but it's not me. I'm just bringing attention to things, and I guess in a way, I'm doing it with public records and open meeting law stuff in those domains, the same thing that First Amendment auditors do in their domain. And it's bringing attention to a problem and increasing transparency and really advocacy for the citizens. My lawyer referred to me as a citizen activist. And I had another journalist, formerly a retired journalist from the Washington Post, I took a class with about a month ago. And she referred to the work that I do as, well, accidental, those of us that get into this kind of stuff as accidental activists. There's a lot of people out there, not just YouTubers, although I know there's plenty of YouTubers that are in the same boat, but people who write books or they get really active in politics or over something that happened to them, that they ran into just a problem getting a public record, or there was a problem with transparency and we just went in head first. And that's what happened to me. I did not have a YouTube channel, and I started about a year and a half ago. There was a meeting that wasn't being recorded, and it wasn't shown on the cable channel, and it wasn't on Zoom. And I just got in my car and drove like a maniac to get to the town hall so that I could start recording it. And that's when my YouTube channel was born. I recorded it and got it up on my channel. And that's accidental activism. You get involved with something and then you can't let go. And I just keep going. And that's where things just have blown up. And some people, like in my intro video, the song, some people hate me, some people like me, some people are thrilled that I'm doing this. So, and I'm driving them nuts. And I think a lot has improved in the town since I've started this, but the people that have always hated me hate me even more. But that's life. We have to get used to this. And unfortunately, these lawsuits are coming up. And unfortunately, I think, if the town doesn't get their act together, there's going to be more. And they really, some of these folks, our town leadership and some of the people involved with the current lawsuit, they really think they're above the law. They think the law doesn't apply to us for one reason or another. I know with some of the open meeting law complaints and the process that those have to go through, I've even had our town councils have, said that, we're small. They even put it in there. A lawyer said this, that, oh, we should be almost using, not quite using the word exempt, but implying that we should be exempt from some things because we're such a small town and run by volunteers. Well, I think it's 169 other communities in Massachusetts are also small towns run by volunteers. So where do our town officials get off thinking that the laws they don't apply, or they should have some kind of an exemption, that the citizens of this town are not, they're not allowed to have the same rights as the town next door. It's nuts to me. So I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and until maybe there'll be no reason for me to have a channel someday. I doubt that, but they just, someday they're going to have to give up and just allow transparency and let people know what's going on. More things. Our website, I could go on. I could just go on for hours, that there's so much that is getting worse, and that people don't see it. I think a lot of citizens are starting to see it, and some of the complaints individuals have, I'm starting to do some collective work on letting people know that it's not you, one individual, are not losing your mind. It's everybody that looks at this town is seeing the same thing. And it's driving me nuts. But that's why I'm here. That's why my channel exists. And sometimes my videos, those of you that are just coming in and subscribing, some of my videos can be boring if you're not from around here. And as Josh did mention, I do some on trash. That was a big topic for some of my videos over the last year, the trash collection issue. And if you're chasing corruption, sometimes I don't think we have trash corruption. That's not always exciting, but some of the things are gaining excitement in the town. As Josh mentioned, we do have some serious financial issues, and unfortunately we're really short on people that know what they're doing in town finances. And I, of course, am going to try to educate them. I've been trying to figure out how to do that, and I think I've got a plan. So we shall see how that goes. If town finances bore you, I don't know what to say, but there's excitement. There's excitement when the battles begin over tax overrides and all that kind of stuff. So, and then you get into the budgets of the fire department and the water department, and the same players will get into the same fight over town finances when I talk about them. And then we get back into public records and open meeting law, because they don't want you to know. For those of you that haven't been following me until now, the last April, as we were getting ready for town meeting, what did the selectmen do? To discuss the budget, they went into executive session. So they were building the town's budget that we had to vote at town meeting in secret. And they really thought they could get away with it. And of course, I filed open meeting law complaints, and the Attorney General sided with me, of course, because you cannot do the budget in executive session. There is no allowance for that. I don't care how you slice it, dice it, call it something else. But it was very clear what they were doing, and that was loads of fun. I waited and waited and waited. Come on, Attorney General, you've got to give me this determination, because they don't get it. They're still doing things in executive session that they shouldn't be. And I'm confident they still are, but those things aren't as obvious as doing the budget in executive session. And it made our town meeting really insane. We almost never finished the budget. But you have to watch some of the other videos, so you can see some of that process, especially the processing of those open meeting law complaints. Let's see, I'm reading some of these things. Yes, our rights, if we don't use them, we lose them. And Townsend has a lot to offer and another to hide. Okay, a lot. Yay. Okay, so I think I'm going to give in to my cat's demands and probably end this video in a couple moments. And I want to reach out and thank everybody that's in the chat. I really appreciate you being here, and thank you for, I think most, if not all of you have subscribed, and I think you've all hit the like button too, and I thank you for that. As I think most of you are YouTubers yourselves, so we all know what those likes and subscribes do, although sometimes the like button, I don't know, I guess it supposedly helps our algorithm somehow, but and it's always nice to see our videos with the thumbs up and not the thumbs down, right? So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming over here, and the number of channels who are recommending other people to come over. I really appreciate that. And I hope that I can keep you all interested, and we can continue the work that all of us do to improve citizens' rights and transparency and open government. That's what I think all of us are doing, regardless of the specialties that we have. I think I've probably been on all of your channels at least once, as I have scrolled YouTube. And for those of you that I'm not subscribed to, I will check you out. And some of you I am subscribed to, I think, and I will. I'll subscribe back once I get, maybe tomorrow, when I finish with my cat and go to bed. Tomorrow, I'll make sure I check my subscribers, my list of things I'm subscribed to, and sign up for you. So I really appreciate that. Okay, so thank you all for being here, and I think I am going to call it an evening, and I'm sure I'll have another video tomorrow, the next day, on some of this crap that's going on here. All right, again, thank you so much for joining, and have a good night.